want to do a quick video on how to deal with, not having enough fabric, some creative solutions, and what you can wiggle it with and what you can't wiggle with as far as dealing with, you don't really have enough fabric. I'm working on this upstairs in my craft room, and it's collected quite a bit of the resultant shrapnel. I haven't really been cleaning as I go, so it's off to the side there. This is a 1.25 yards, and as I keep referring, this project requires 2 yards. So far, that's been the regular. So, what have I done? Well, that's not all the pieces. You can tell that's not 7 pieces. In fact, it's 4 in the collar. So, what we have over here is a pair of pants that I tried to fix the zipper broke again. I said never mind, and I've already used part of the legs for pockets on another pair of pants, so they're already scrap fabric. There's my pincushion. So what I'm doing here is taking the remaining 3 pieces. Now there were a lot of decisions involved in how am I going to do this. There's I have piece 2 through 4, so 2, 3, 4, and that was chosen mainly because it's an area on the pattern that's going to require a little more give, a little more stretch, and this fabric has just a bit more, frankly, when this fabric over here was invented, that was a long time ago. My grandmother's fabric stash came to me, but had been sitting in a pile since 1983. So it's an older type of fabric. There's absolutely no give to it. It's very sturdy, but I figured since this is a little bit more, little bit of stretch to it, little bit of give, that I'd put it in an area that it needed to have that property. So the other things that we're looking at here is, can we overlap pieces? If so, when? If so, how? And what other variables do we have? These pieces are pinned only to the top layer because the fabric is missing at the bottom, and on the back, if I cut the whole way through this, I would be cutting through the everything, including the back pocket, which would not work at all. So what I'm going to do is flip it over and then pin it down. Actually, I'm not going to flip it over. I'm just going to pin it down to the next layer, scooching it down after I've cut this first one. Taking care to make sure that the wrong sides are together, or else the right sides are together. Because if I were to put the wrong side against the right side of this fabric, like if I were to cut this out, flip this over, then lay it down that way, I would end up with 2 right side pieces instead of a right and a left, and that's not helpful at all. So I'm going to have to watch out for that in cutting the second piece. You'll notice that in small places here there is a bit of overlap. Everything's already pinned, but I think I can show you that the oh yay, my shadow. The second piece goes underneath. Now, how do we decide when that's okay and when it isn't? An outside corner is one of the best pieces to consider overlapping, because it's going to have to be clipped eventually anyways. It's just going to get cut off in order for it to turn in properly. So shaving off a bit there, as opposed to along this edge where I might be using it to help encase some boning in the corset, or on an inside curve where it's very difficult to maintain the distance and you need that bit to grab onto. Or an outside curve you can do a bit of. But again, this long part might be needed for encasing some boning, so I'm not going to put the overlap there. I also made sure it only went up just barely to the seam in the pants and not over the stitching, so that I can get a nice clean, even cut. And I also followed the line along with the grain of the fabric crossways, because that's going to be necessary to maintain an even look in the fabric, and also for the strength of the stretch and the sturdiness of the resultant piece. So we have pieces 1 and 5 through 7 over here on the original fabric, I left a bit extra and crammed these together as best I could, because I am still hoping to have enough fabric to do the tails on this. And at which point, that little bit of fabric would be enough maybe for a swallowtail effect. Maybe not. I'm going to give it a try. So this has got a little bit of overlap on that corner up there. Oh, my finger's so weird. Right up there. And a little bit on the corner of the collar. Just in case I want to bring the point of the lapel out farther, I actually changed the angle on that. This one doesn't have like a grain direction line, so I'm not going to worry about it. The lines are pretty straight. I didn't do an exact with grain on piece 5 here. I made sure the rest of them were, but just to make it fit, I took it just a little bit off center. It won't be fatal. So it's a little bit of grain variation. You can do outside corner overlap. You can do, and there's a overlap there too. And it's right up against, but I'm not cutting on the fold here, obviously, so I'm actually going to have to cut with the scissors inside here, up along here, just to get this cut flush to the pattern, because it's so close that there's not like a bead to cut off on the edge. So it's going to be just stretching the fabric. So this is just a little video on how to stretch fabric, and a good reason to keep pants that have broken or don't fit or whatever in your scrap fabric bin, because I think it's going to look pretty nice. It's a different kind of denim. This is actually the wrong side of this fabric, so the right side of the fabric is a very dark denim. It's much bluer, and this is a lot blacker. But it'll look fine. It'll be good. And again, this is just a rough draft, so it's just getting creative with what I have on hand and hoping for the best. So that's how far it is here. I'm going to cut them out and then later show you the method for taking and marking these interior lines onto the pattern pieces that I have in mind. So, moving on. That's it for now.